Okay, got a quick VOD review. It's SupremeBird Diamond 5. I did pre-watch just a little bit of it just to get an idea of what things were going to look like. But let's start it off. You don't stay on brig for very long. I won't talk too much about the brig. Just want to get it and get it in. Talk about it just a little bit before you swap. So shield walking is obviously good, especially when you don't know what you're looking for. Unfortunate whip shot, playing the corner well. Unfortunately, your Sombra just like runs in and dies to a bunch of collateral. And then I don't think you get almost any Inspire uptime, but you swap anyway, so nothing really to talk about. Sometimes you're just not feeling a hero and you have to make a swap. So this, in the same way that I would tell a DPS player, coming out of spawn, the right-hand side is like the most exposed side, especially as you start pushing up. Because whenever you push up, if you're going to go through the choke, you pretty much get seen by all directions. If you're just trying to play poke, that's fine, just playing as far back and to the left as you can, just to minimize your hitbox so that you have a place that you can escape to whenever you're doing this is good. Otherwise, if you just want to play this left side, you can play this until your tank's ready to move. I guess a smaller nitpick is there was like a brief time there where you didn't have your orbs out on anyone. You just kind of want to make sure that you have your orbs on somebody, just so that you're getting value from his passive, healing and damage reduction or damage boosting. Kind of a nitpicky thing. Like you don't want to be constantly looking and swapping and stuff unless you're pretty fluid with it because it gets in the way of your DPS. But that's just a big thing. Another thing with your left clicks on Zen, it looks like you're just kind of holding them down. I find it easier on most of the heroes like that to like consciously click whenever you're like ready to shoot instead of just like holding it down and like trying to match your mouse movement with the timing of the shot. I don't know if I would have pushed the Junkrat that close, just because it plays into like the scary one-shot territory, but it worked out fine. You had plenty of your team around where I guess even if you had died, you still would have capped. Here was something else that I saw briefly. You should be backing up way more until the Ramatra notices you. There's not really a reason to just push W while he's unaware of you. It just making space between you and him. Maybe even back up into the hotel where the mini is, just in case you need it. Doesn't end up mattering. Like he takes a ton of damage beforehand anyway, and you're able to confirm it. And it was a good juggle with the kicks and stuff too. Unfortunate. This is a time whenever you could be, especially as you're approaching corners while they're coming back, where you could be charging 5 balls before you peek, just to see if you can get them. Because there's these timings on the map, like whenever people are coming back from spawn or making rotations and stuff. There's these timings where you should get familiar with like holding down, right click, peeking and shooting, just because you know that it's likely that someone's going to be coming from that way at around that time. It doesn't, you're not necessarily going to get anything, but you're not like your accuracy on Zenyatta matters like negative, right? As long as you're getting Discord and then and then like hitting your shots when it matters, like you don't have to worry about keeping up your your hit percentage. I was having a hard time with that one. It just like so like charging. I would like to see. I would have liked to have seen charging up fireballs and shooting, just to see if you could like get any kind of damage off, maybe even a pick or something. Because just riding the cart really doesn't do anything, you know. That's just that's more of a nitpick, really. But I'm thinking with them, yeah. I'm kind of glad you didn't trans there, just because they're committing so much for this that I think you'll just get way more value on trans whenever it's like a more uneven battlefield, you know, more uneven fight for y'all. So like now that Visor and Tire's out, Tire being the one thing that can one-shot you on their team, other than Devolt, obviously. But with you having trans, Devolt's not a threat to you specifically. But now you can just take way more aggressive fights. Now that they've used a ton of their battle ults. There you probably, like, you're getting hit in the back, obviously. I don't know if I like the trans necessarily, but only because you ended up in this situation. Because you only ended up in the situation where you needed to use the trans because of the fact that like you kind of ignored the Brig, and Brig gave you a couple of times where you could have put a Discord orb on her, and you know Discord orb, it stays on there for 3 seconds after you lose sight, but you still can it's a new thing, but you can ping them through walls with the Discord orb, and it actually tells your team where they are, and regardless of that, if you can see the Discord orb signal like through the wall, you'll know where Brigitte is, and you wouldn't have got caught off guard like that and got your trans forced out, you know. But I mean, you charged the first one pretty fast, so like, I mean, it's obviously better to use it than to not use it. But I feel like you could have used it on your own terms instead, you know. But this is what I mean before, like just charging fireballs just to see what you can get. Just not letting them cross corners for free, essentially, yeah. But like it works. I mean, you're already like 40% to a new trans, so it really doesn't matter. So a big thing actually with Discord Orb is you can Discord Orb the person that you want. This is like a more advanced Zenyatta technique, honestly. I know it sounds really silly because it's about to be the most basic shit you ever heard in your life, but you can Discord Orb the person you want the team to shoot, and then you yourself actually shoot other people. So so in this case you would Discord D.Va, and since D.Va's Discorded, she's gonna take a ton of damage. But then you just go and you become like the Kiriko assassin. So while D.Va's Discord and your team's shooting them, you just put your efforts into like disrupting the Kiriko from making an impact of keeping D.Va alive. That's something you don't really see a whole lot whenever people play Zenyatta. Obviously, if like there's a do or die target that needs to die right now, discording and attacking that person makes the most sense. But in the team fight situation like this, you don't need all 5 people to attack a discorded D.Va. Like you can discord D.Va and then go after a support, like a squishy that you can actually influence. They're playing a really, really wide right now, like way, way aggressive. If they were, man, if that Cassidy was worth an ounce of shit, he would have taken your giant hitbox head off your shoulders. And what I mean by that is that your projectiles do not have fall off at all. You're just as effective playing from this corner cover, where you can like feed damage without getting damage given back to you. Much easier than by swinging out into the middle of the street and just pushing in. It's a thing that like supports honestly don't think about a ton, but it's the things that we criticize DPS players for doing. But since Zenyatta is basically DPS, like that type of stuff really starts to matter, you know? Yeah, doing what you're doing now is a little bit better. Like, well, I say that because you were playing payload cover, and then you started playing side cover, and I was like, this is fine if he just chooses which one he wants to do. And now you're just kind of playing far back, middle of the street, where anyone from like here over can just can hit you basically. But thankfully, you have a pretty strong distraction in front of you. But I would love to see you play cover way more instead of just like. It just feels like ego dueling, I guess. You're just like daring them to hit shots on you, per se. It's unfortunate. I'm glad you didn't translate either because there's like no way you were probably gonna make sure the res got off. But hopefully this time you can use trans on your own schedule.
My ultimate is ready. Proceed without fear.
Yeah, see, you're just like, because you're peeking so aggressively wide, like away from cover, it's just like they've kind of realized that they can just put shots in you easier. Good shot. And also another thing with Zenyatta is thankfully whenever the support passive kicks in, the shield passive typically isn't too far away either. So he regens his health so fast. Oh, that was, man, that was rough. Your Echo got dunked down the hole. Oh, God. Yeah, so in that situation, I definitely would have been backing up. So as soon as he starts using tire, I would have started backing up and putting shots straight at the tire because the tire can only go one of two places, and if you're pre-firing the tire, you're likely gonna blow it up. Or you could have even charged a right click to basically guarantee it if you hit the timing just right on his whenever he takes over control of the tire. But yeah, that was unfortunate just because you did commit trans to that fight. Now you don't have it for the last fight, probably. I mean, you could charge one really fast, but we'll see, right? That is rough. Oh, that's so rough. You still get another fight at least. They didn't really stall it out enough to prevent you guys from getting another fight. I'm curious how you're going to play the defense. If you're a Zenyatta defense player or not. Put your orbs out? Yeah, yeah. Looks like your mouse disconnected there for a second. At least you capped. I wish you had capped with time, really. It matters quite a bit in these hybrid maps, but nothing you can do about it, you know?
How are you?
Okay, so you are a Zenyatta defense player. Nothing wrong with that. People play Zenyatta in like tons of situations.
Ready for battle. 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
So I guess kind of similar idea that I would give to a DPS player, especially since for whatever reason nobody is using the high grounds today. Is like there's no reason to not start on a high ground. I mean, don't like peek out too aggressively because you really need to know if they have a Widow or not off rip. But just having those options of like where you know you want to play or where you think the enemy team is going to push or what their game plan is going to be, it just makes a difference, you know, like especially because nobody's occupying the high grounds right now. If for whatever reason a soldier is able to make it over to the hotel and then jump up over to this high ground, there's just like they're in such a strong power position where it's really hard for any one person to contest them off the rip. But just like having one person on any high ground really can make a difference with the people taking those rotates like that. I cannot English very well right now. My goodness. Again, you're just like kind of far from like any semblance of cover. And that's like really scary to me. You're just playing wide open, way too much, and it's like it's getting you hit. It hasn't got you killed yet in this round. So, like, you're taking a lot of collateral. Yeah, I feel like this would have been another good situation. Okay, so let's talk about this actually now that I've... So because every single one of you is playing in this like corner and street, when Ramatra put that shield up, it just relieved literally every piece of pressure that is like being applied to your team right now. Someone, maybe even you, need to rotate to get onto a crossfire. Like, I know it's not really Zenyatta's thing to just like set up these pure DPS crossfires, but just the fact that you have like unrestricted access to their backline could make a ton of difference, especially when Ramatra can't shield two directions at once, and when he does have his shield up, it literally just cuts off every single person that's like putting shots on team right now, you know? That's definitely something I notice right now. That's why crossfires are just so important to set up. Another situation where it's like you have orbs on nobody. Orb uptime is like, you know, that's like 70% of Zenyatta's value. Just trying to make sure that you have orbs on somebody, even if it's not optimal. Just having them on somebody to give them the ability to like be aggressive or be aggressed on, I think matters quite a bit. I'm interested how you play Kiriko. I like Kiriko. I'm hopeful that you play her as like a flanking assassin type.
I'm with you.
So you're kind of just playing Kiriko. I don't know about the TP. I mean, you don't seem very comfortable in this here, just first impression. So I don't care for playing I don't care much unless you're really, really good at just hitting shots with projectile heroes. I just do not care for the a million mile away Hail Mary Kunai playstyle. With Kiriko, you know, you have TP and you have Suzu. You can play in such a way that you put yourself into like what would be, you know, for other heroes is really, really scary positions. Like, let's assume that most people would be on the payload right now, and or like even now is fine. Like if you can get to a position where like you rotate over the street and get on the Ana without getting slept. Like big thing is like while she's like paying attention to Ramatra here, if you can get here and put two shots in her head, she's dead. Right? Payload stops moving. Ana's dead. You can TP back to your team. You relieve a ton of pressure. Basically, that push is completely done at that point. Playing Kiriko as like this, like just throw kunais and you know heal your teammates as you throw kunais and stuff. Like yeah, people do it all the time, but I just don't think it's the most optimal way to play Kiriko per se. Like it's very passive. It's very I hope that I hit a headshot from a million miles away, and I hope that the people I'm healing will like carry me or whatever. But doing the assassin play style where you like go to look for people who aren't aware of your existence, dink them a couple times and get out, or just like dink them, distract them. People start looking and rotating on you. You TP away. Like your TP has such a long reach. Yeah. So I guess I didn't even mention that really. Specifically because they have a Sombra as well. Playing this like really, really grouped up style makes you guys like you know it makes you extra vulnerable to EMP like what just happened obviously. I mean they EMP and tired like they committed a ton of ults for that. But if you had been on a flank, you wouldn't have gotten EMP'd, right? Like if you'd been on a flank and you wouldn't have gotten EMP'd unless you like TP back at like a rough time or something like that. But this is literally just hindsight though. Like, oh yeah, the EMP got 5 people or whatever. That was really bad, haha. But it is just kind of like I guess it is one of those things you have to think about somewhat. Yeah, so right now, I think what I would want to see from you is just like wall climb up, and like you can even go up here and see if you can get Mercy, because you know Mercy likes to play up in that area. Or instead of up there, you just jump over and come around here. Like nobody sees you on that entire rotate, and you'll probably be able to take out a squishy. And like it could turn the entire tide of that fight. It's just kind of one of those things about Kiriko is like the wall climb and the TP open so many routes for you to play that it's like I'm not gonna say you're throwing by not taking them because that's like so dramatic for no reason, right? But you can get so much value just by doing that.
Let the kitsune guide you. Just needed a dash of mischief.
I don't know if I like the ult. I think it's fine. There's just so much time for the enemy, but I mean, you end up holding it. It's just I don't know if I would have liked any situation where you use the ult in just because there's so much time left, but that's not your fault. I mean, you hold it, so kudos for that, right? Thankfully, you still have at least one ult. They're coming up on 2. Oh, that wall should, if played right, it should hopefully like buy you another team fight. At least while you guys are. Oh, I'm so scared. That's rough. Yeah, it's unfortunate it didn't. Yeah, this just it's kind of rough. So like, I guess yeah, really the biggest thing honestly is that you kind of want to get these picks before the fights even break out as Kiriko. Like, you want to assassinate people and then get back to your team. I mean, Awkward has like a whole 4-step guide on Kiriko playstyle like that. I think his is more extreme, obviously, because his mechanics are insane. But the idea of what he's trying to say makes sense at like every elo. Like, get in, unseen, dink people who are completely unaware of your existence. Even if you mess it up and people look at you and you have to back out, you distracted people for like 5 to 10 seconds, like every time that you do it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think I'm gonna call it here because I don't think there's much more we're gonna get out of just watching them cap, and then I assume they get the sliver on the hybrid on the point. But yeah, hopefully the points that I've made were like at least somewhat useful to you. Zenyatta, you have to play if you're gonna. Zenyatta is a DPS essentially, so you have to play him like you would a DPS, like more safe, trying to find flanks from time to time whenever you can like get uncontested access to their backline, and using your right clicks on at timings whenever people would possibly be crossing your line of sight, just things like that. Kiriko is like a whole different beast. I would just check out Awkward's like 4-step guide to Kiriko and like take the overall themes of what he's going for in that and apply it to the gameplay. Brig, I'm not gonna say anything about because I mean Brig's like a totally unique play style as well. But yeah, hopefully this is useful to you, and you can ask me any follow-up questions you might have, or I don't know, criticize me. Maybe I said something stupid.